Hello. So we missed class today. If you missed class today, I'm going to go through what we did. So the first thing we kind of covered the homework assignments that some people might have missing. And I was explaining how it's really important that we use those to build for major paper two. So if you look back, one of the homework assignments is the commercial content frames that you needed to have in. And then over the weekend or this long week, you should have taken a look at Kennedy's announcement speech and done the same thing that we did in class with Obama and Trump's speeches, political speeches, and analyzing those. And then I asked you to find another fourth speech, either pre 2000 or Joe Biden or one of the previous candidates who had dropped out of the race on the Democratic side to analyze their announcement speeches. Those four speeches, Obama, Trump, pre 2000, and candidate from this year, those are really important resources that you're going to build the evidence for your major paper two. So those are important. The other thing that's important is remember the living room candidate, the commercial content frames, all those little political commercials. If you, for some reason, missed that assignment, you haven't turned it in yet, you can still turn it in. Most importantly, not just losing the points. You already have a 0 in the grade book. I will give you points if you do the assignment. However, if you don't do it, those 3 commercials are also evidence that you're going to use for your argumentative paper, which is going to be the basis of major paper 2. And I don't want you to fall behind because once we get going on major paper 2, it's going to go quickly. So trying to find resources suddenly and analyzing them is going to put you way far behind where you want to be. So what we did when we were done with that is if you look at class plans, the very first link right here is a link to Padlet. And when we were done discussing, like, make sure you turn your homework in and that you've done your homework, we went to this Padlet and I talked about argumentative essays. So we're going to be following the classical argumentative organization. And that involves introduction, background, but we're not going to worry about background right now. Introduction, background, claims, evidence to support the claims, and then a counterclaim. So let's say that the question is, what quality in a presidential candidate seems to be the most effective? So I think about the 3 commercials that I've looked at, the 4 speeches that I've looked at, and I choose some sort of quality, a personality trait or something like that, that I think I can see in some of those like speeches and commercials. So I can use those speeches and commercials for evidence. So my thesis then becomes a split thesis where I say something like, there are many different qualities that make a good presidential candidate. However, I believe the most blah, 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 blah. However, the most effective quality is, etc. You will notice I sent kids into breakout rooms, and 3 out of the 4 groups did that split thesis. Although there are many qualities that have been shown to be vital in a presidential candidate, communication is the most effective. Although other characteristics stick out from other presidents, having accountability, despite the many qualities a president can have, honesty is the most effective. So see how that works there. The 4th group didn't really do that, but they were clear about their thesis. This wouldn't get mastery points for a thesis, but it would get, proficient, maybe, if it was well written, maybe emerging. Okay, so that's the thesis, right? That I had kids work on. And then I said, your claim is kind of like your reason why communication is important. You want to think about, for a full-length paper, having 3 or more claims. So the first claim, I said, what is your reason behind that quality being effective? Now let's just take a look at the communication from breakout room 1. So having good communication skills implies honesty and creates trust in a candidate. So there they took communication leads to these other qualities, and that's why it's important, right? So they tried to make an argument saying that communication was the most important because it also enabled some of these other qualities. Then I said you need to find example from a commercial and an example from a speech that shows that quality. Okay, so they found one piece of evidence. We were running out of time. So I said, if you can only find one piece of evidence, that's fine. So they went to Kennedy's announcement speech and they kind of showed why they believe Kennedy was showing good communication skills. And then they came up with a counterclaim. So a counterclaim is an argument that someone could make against your claim, not against the overall thing, but against the claim. And remember, their claim was that it led to honesty and trust. So they thought someone could probably attack the honesty part because you can still be a good communicator without being honest, right? So you're a good communicator, but you're a good communicator of lies, right? So that is how the argumentative kind of idea works. So you'll see we split up into 4 different breakout rooms today. And in those breakout rooms, people created claims, evidence, counterclaims, and kind of like worked off of the idea of the qualities of a presidential candidate. If you start thinking about things like that, what makes a presidential candidate effective, you'll be thinking on the right pace for what we're going to do in major paper 3. But we're not going to do that yet. Because the next thing we did is we went into our first minor paper. In first quarter, our first paper, the first paper that you wrote was an email to a politician about something that was going on in the world. This one, you are going to become a politician. So if you click on this, it'll take you to this document. You too can be president. You are going to run as president of AP Language and Composition. And in order to do that, you're going to have to write and deliver a speech. You can choose to work with a partner to write and record a video presentation of a speech. However, this first step that you're going to be doing, the brainstorming step, I want you to assume you're working by yourself. So you are a presidential candidate. What are you going to say about yourself? So this is what you're going to be doing. Step 1, you're going to design your campaign. You want to think of like, what are some things that you could promise to the members of AP Language and Composition? What are some things that you can say about yourself that make you stand out over other people and create that presidential campaign speech? You also need to come up with a campaign motto that should be a component of your speech. We should see it again and again in your speech. So I took students to this website, Presidents USA. It has a listing of presidential campaign slogans since 1840. And we talked about campaign slogans and mottos, and you will see that hardly any use people's names, presidential candidates' names. They usually talk more about like what the promise was, like, for example, prosperity and progress, or leave no child behind. George W. Bush was running on what he believed was a very strong educational platform. Reformer with results. So he used a quality about himself as a reformer, and he tried to use that to kind of show what his campaign was going to be all about, reforming things. Then, of course, we get to, people that you probably remember, Barack Obama and his change we can believe in, change we need, hope, yes we can, and forward. All those, no Barack, no Obama, nothing like that, right? And you can see some of the other ones, the ones that we're probably a little bit more familiar with today, the Make America Great Again and things like that, and even up until this year. So look at these for inspiration to kind of think of how you might mold a campaign slogan for yourself. Then, if you look at the upcoming on the side here, either tomorrow or Friday, depending on which class you're in, you will need to complete a brainstorm document, brainstorming what you're going to be doing in writing your speech. Remember, step 1 is for you. Like, just pretend you're working by yourself and you have to write your own speech and you're not working with anyone else. So that's going to take you to this brainstorm document, and it'll look very familiar to the document that we were just looking at. You have, don't worry about this, where you're going to be assigned these randomly in class. But down here, we get to your platform. So your platform includes what are some of the positive qualities around you. So what are some things that you have about yourself that's good? What are some things that you kind of want to highlight as being good? And then you want to go into events in your life that have shaped who you are as a person. Like, maybe think about what is something that happened in your life that actually built you to have this quality. Does that make sense? Okay. What issues do you see in school that you would like to solve? What ideas do you have to improve the school or the class? They may not be problems, but maybe there's a way that you see something might be better. This is how are you different from other students in the class? What makes you stand apart? Then here, I want you to think of different leaders that exist in the world. Think of like leaders that other people know. So your Uncle Jimmy might be a great leader, but nobody knows Uncle Jimmy except you. So don't write about Uncle Jimmy. Write about somebody that other people know. So who is a leader you admire and how are you similar? And who is a leader you do not admire and how are you different from that person? And then the last thing that you need to do before I see you again in the next class is to start thinking of some campaign mottos or slogans that you would have for yourself. You can use some information that you put up in your promises section here to kind of help guide you. None of this needs to be written in paragraphs or even complete sentences, just notes for yourself, because this is a brainstorm document. So I want to kind of see what you're thinking, but I don't have to know the whole story. Once you get to this section here, this is what you're going to be working on in class tomorrow, Friday, once you get connected with your partner. You are going to be assigning different parts of the speech to each other. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in class on Friday. So with this assignment, stop after the slogan and motto, and then on Friday, we'll be doing more with that. Okay, that is everything that happened today in class. I left people saying, don't forget to do this homework assignment, brainstorming, and don't forget to catch up on anything that might have slipped your mind over this long early fall break. All right. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you in class on Friday when we'll talk more about presidential campaigns.